We have an update on Jared Jones to talk about up next on Fantasy Baseball Today Express. Welcome into FBT Express on Wednesday, March 26th. I am Frank Stampfl, joined by Scott White. Let's take a look at the latest news from Tuesday. And we actually got some good news, a positive update on Jared Jones, who has no torn ligaments in his elbow and will not require surgery, at least not for now. He'll be shut down from throwing for the next 6 weeks. And we just wrapped up one of our Listener League drafts where Jared Jones went 235th. The second to last round of the draft. Scott, do you think he should be drafted and stashed on the IL now?
Yeah, I think that's fine. A late round flyer, IL stash. That's what I treat Jared Jones as. It was a much better report than I think we were expecting when we heard he needed a second opinion. Took a long time for that second opinion to come back. So I'm imagining there was inflammation, swelling that they needed to calm down to really get a good look at that elbow ligament, but it sounds like there's no damage to it. So that's encouraging. It doesn't mean that at some point in the rehabilitation, he couldn't end up damaging that ligament. We do see that happen from time to time because they're favoring whatever injury they have. They're not throwing with their usual motion or whatever. It just kind of, it's an easy tapestry to unravel once you start tugging on that thread. But as of now, the ligament is fine. So if they handle the rehabilitation properly, there's a good chance we'll see Jared Jones as soon as June, which is a long way away. So we're talking about stashing him for a long time. That's why I wouldn't invest more than a late round pick in him. And I have a more favorable outlook for like Grayson Rodriguez, for instance. But Jared Jones is firmly in that injury stash mix.
As expected at this point, the Astros prospect Cam Smith will be on their opening day roster, as will Zach DeZenzo. So both gentlemen earning a spot on their roster. I believe Cam Smith will be their starting right fielder. In that same draft that we just wrapped up, Scott, Cam Smith went 131st overall. So that is a pretty big price tag. What do you think about Cam Smith and where he should be drafted for those who are still drafting?
Yeah, the stock is soaring now. Obviously, his name has been mentioned quite often of late. I'm trying to look at the NFBC board just in the last 2 days, just once it was super clear. There have been 33 drafts there, and Cam Smith is 232 overall. So I think probably in this particular draft, it was a head-to-head points draft, shallower league. Upside, understandably, gets pushed up because there's going to be an ample waiver wire there to draw from. It was aggressive. Maybe it makes sense given the upside for Cam Smith. But I think realistically, we're still talking about him around pick 200 or so in most leagues where you have to play it a little more cautiously. And I'm in at that price. I'd be in at that price for Jackson Holiday. I guess he goes a little bit earlier than that. Or Matt Shaw, who is right around pick 200. Yeah, I'd probably put Cam Smith on about equal footing with Matt Shaw. I think similar upside and just kind of outlooks overall.
All right, we did get confirmation that Aroldis Chapman will begin the season as the Red Sox closer, but could see occasional high leverage work in an earlier inning if the matchup is right. But this is good news, Scott, for Aroldis Chapman and those who drafted him. What do you feel comfortable with Chapman as? Your RP2, your RP3 in a Roto League? What are your thoughts?
I think he's more like an RP3. He has maintained elite strikeout rates in recent years, but he's just been more vulnerable overall, a lot of walks. The whip always runs high. So I could see him slumping his way out of that role. And maybe at that point, Liam Hendricks is looking better. Justin Slayton has taken off. Garrett Whitlock has emerged as a lockdown guy. No pun intended. But I think Chapman's an excellent number 3 closer in those Roto leagues where everybody gets drafted. I take him ahead of like Calvin Fauché at this point.
All right, let's take a quick break and we'll be back right after this.
One of golf's elite courses, Quail Hollow, hosts the game's top players at the PGA Championship this May on CBS.
Welcome back in, FBT Express, breaking down the latest news and notes. And Connor Norby will be out 4 weeks with a grade 1 left oblique strain. If you are looking for third base replacements or corner infield replacements in, let's say, a 12-team roto league or deeper, Scott, who do you like most from this group? Joey Ortiz, Brett Beatty, Jose Miranda?
Miranda least. It's between Joey Ortiz and Brett Beatty. I think Brett Beatty has the higher ceiling, and both he and Ortiz look great this spring. Beatty, I feel like, obviously, it's taken a while for him to come around, but I've always liked the upside for him. He hits the ball very hard. Is good at working the count. And apparently has looked good at second base. That's the position he'd actually be playing for the Mets. The problem is I don't know that it's going to be on an everyday basis, at least to start out. And it may only be short term because Jeff McNeil could come back from the IL and reclaim that role. I'm not totally sure that'll happen if Beatty's hitting well. Like, a lot of it just hinges on Beatty, right? If he's performing as well during the regular season as he was this spring, he's probably not giving up the job and probably is being picked up in every fantasy league. So that's the take on him. Joey Ortiz has more speed and he has more job security, and he's going to pick up shortstop eligibility. So if those things matter to you, then I lean Ortiz. But Beatty, I think, has the higher ceiling.
We learned that Ben Brown will open the season as the Cubs' 5th starter, and in a small sample size last year, he actually looked pretty good. 3.58 ERA, 108 WHIP, 13.5% swinging strike rate. He's got that big curveball. Scott, do you have any interest in Ben Brown as a late round sleeper, waiver wire target? Your thoughts?
The interest level isn't zero, but I'm putting him behind, just to name a few, Richard Fitz of the Red Sox, Chris Paddock of the Twins, Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker of the Rangers. I have more interest in all of them than I do in Ben Brown, but there is upside for Brown. It's just there's upside for so many pitchers, and you have to take into account downside and job security and extent of the upside and all of that. Ben Brown slips down a little further for me than those others.
Turns out that Leody Taveras will be the Rangers' opening day center fielder with Evan Carter optioned to the minors. So we spoke about Carter the other day on our full-length Fantasy Baseball Today podcast, and coming back from back surgery, he's had a real bad spring here. I mean, if you drafted Evan Carter in a deeper 5 outfielder league, is he a drop?
I mean, he becomes sort of like any other minor league stash at this point. Would you rather have Evan Carter or Roman Anthony? What
about Zach Veen?
The minor league stashes. But that's where I am with that. And I had concerns about Evan Carter coming in because obviously a back injury wrecked his season last year, and it didn't sound like it was completely resolved. He kind of made it sound like a chronic issue he'll have to continue to manage. And so for him to perform so poorly this spring that he gets optioned, I'm kind of worried about him from a dynasty context, much less redraft.
Again, that was Evan Carter. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today Express, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.